Have you ever opened a package of, fancy cheese and been hit with an aroma that made you check the bottom of your shoes? It's a weirdly specific smell, right? Well, today we're diving nose first into the science behind one of food's funkiest questions. So let's just ask it straight up. Why on earth do some of the world's most prized cheeses carry the unmistakable scent of a well-worn gym sock? The answer is, well, it's a wild ride that connects microbiology, our own bodies, and even genetics. And here it is, the short and maybe slightly disturbing answer. It's not in your head. The very same types of microbes that love the warm, humid environment between your toes are intentionally grown on the rinds of certain cheeses. They're literally sharing a microbiome. Okay, so if bacteria are the ones to blame, let's get properly introduced. These aren't just random germs. They're a very specific crew of microscopic chefs, and they are responsible for some of the boldest flavors and aromas on the entire planet. The main player in our story is this little guy, Brevibacterium linens. Now, in the cheese world, this thing is a rock star. It's what gives washed rind cheeses that beautiful, characteristic orange color. But its side gig, living on human skin, especially on our feet, where it's a primary cause of foot odor. Same bacteria, two very different homes.
But, Brevibacterium doesn't work alone. It's part of a whole ecosystem. You've got these other bacteria joining the party, each producing their own signature scent compounds. Some smell cheesy and sweaty, others more sour. It's like a microbial potluck, and everyone brings something funky.
So how in the world do these tiny organisms create such a powerful smell? Well, it's not magic, it's just metabolism. They're basically eating and then releasing waste, and that waste just happens to be made of some incredibly smelly compounds. Let's break down exactly how they do it. It's really a pretty simple three-step process. First, the bacteria find a nice place to live that has all the food they need, whether that's a salty, moist cheese rind or, well, your skin. Second, they get to work, just munching away on proteins and fats. And third, they release their byproducts. These are the volatile compounds that fly up our noses and register as stinky. And we can even put a name to these chemicals. One of the major ones is isovaleric acid. And get this, its official scientific description is literally cheesy or sweaty. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This single compound is the chemical bridge connecting a stinky foot to a block of Limburger. And it's not just that one. Meet methane schol. This compound adds a sulfuric kick to the mix, often described as smelling like rotting cabbage. It's what you get when Brevibacteria start digesting amino acids. So what you're really smelling is this complex cocktail of different chemicals all hitting you at once. So let's take this science from the microscopic level and see how it plays out at the cheese counter. Because this isn't just some weird theory. It's the secret behind some of the most famous and infamous cheeses ever made. And here they are, the Hall of Famers of funk. We're talking about the heavy hitters. Limburger, the poster child for stinky cheese. Munster, with that gooey inside and powerful rind. And the creamy Italian Taleggio. All of these are what we call washed rind cheeses, which means cheesemakers literally wash them with a saltwater brine to encourage our little friend Brevibacterium to grow. And then there's Epoisses. This cheese is so legendarily aromatic that it's rumored to be banned from public transport in France. Now, whether that's a strictly enforced law or just, good manners, it tells you everything you need to know about the power of these microbes. But here's the wonderful paradox, the absolute best part about stinky cheese. That aggressive, sometimes room-clearing odor, it often gives way to a surprisingly mild, complex, and absolutely delicious flavor. It is the classic case of don't judge a cheese by its smell. And this comparison just lays it all out, right? Your nose is screaming, pungent, foot-like, sulfuric, but then you take a bite and your palate gets something totally different. Creamy, buttery, mild, earthy. It's because our senses of smell and taste are processed differently, and the chemicals creating that big aroma aren't the same ones creating the flavor on your tongue. Now, speaking of the human side of this whole thing, there's a really fascinating genetic twist. We've been talking about the bacteria that cause the odor, but our own DNA plays a huge role in how much of a feast we provide for them, and it comes down to a single gene, ABCC11. And this chart just shows how dramatic the difference is around the world.
A version of this gene that leads to way less body odor is present in 80 to 95% of people in East Asia, but in Europeans, it's only about 2%. This one gene completely changes the skin's environment for bacteria, which might even affect how different cultures feel about these funky smells in their food.
So after all of this, you might still be wondering, why would anyone want to eat something that smells like feet? Well, because, as any cheesemaker or cheese lover will tell you, that funk, it's not a flaw. It's a sign that something incredible is happening.
So here's the big takeaway. That powerful smell is a badge of honor. It's a signal that the cheese is alive, that all these complex reactions are breaking down proteins and fats into a deep tapestry of flavors. It is literally the aroma of craftsmanship.
And there's another cool benefit. That thriving community of bacteria on a cheese rind, it acts like a bodyguard, protecting the cheese by outcompeting any harmful molds or bad bacteria. It's the same thing on our skin. Our own personal microbiome helps defend us from pathogens. So these smelly bacteria are actually our allies. And if you need one last final piece of proof, scientists have confirmed this connection in the wildest way. The smell of Limburger cheese is so good at mimicking human foot odor that it's literally used to bait traps for malaria-carrying mosquitoes. I mean, if that doesn't prove how identical these smells are, I don't know what will. So this whole link between cheese and feet is just a perfect, if slightly gross, example of the invisible microbial worlds that are all around us and on us. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other surprising invisible connections are out there, quietly shaping our food, our health, and our world? Something to think about the next time you're near the cheese counter.